Replacing an ordinary light bulb with a security camera seems like an easy and convenient way to keep an eye on your property without any additional wiring.
He just made an application error. That is not going to work at night. Does anybody know why? Coming up, I'm going to tell you why that's not going to work. I'm just curious to see if anybody already knows. Put comments down below. Let's find out. Oh, and subscribe.
But the question is, how much performance do you give up by going with a light bulb form factor over a traditional security camera?
He just hit the nail on the head. When you buy a product that provides convenience, very often you're giving up performance or something else. And that's what he's going to go through. He does a really good job with this, so stick with it.
To answer that question, I bought every variety of light bulb camera on Amazon to see which one is the best and if any of them are worth using. In this video, we'll test their day and night image clarity, motion detection accuracy, notification speed, app experience, Wi-Fi strength, and finally their ability to light up your space since they are theoretically going to be replacing one of your light bulbs.
Okay, let's stop real quick and talk about why he's going to test these aspects of it. These cameras, they're consumer grade. You're not going to find a security dealer anywhere in this country selling these. You're not going to find one guy selling them. Maybe because they start at $20. Yeah, this is a residential consumer grade product for sure. But okay, let's back up and see how do they work. Okay, so you screw them into the light socket, that powers the device. Now the device is just like other wireless devices in your home. It uses your Wi-Fi to communicate to apps so that you can access, view the cameras, get alerts, and do video playback. Now the thing about it is, the reason he wants to test the Wi-Fi signal is because that really kind of dictates what kind of experience you're going to have with this, okay? Because if you've got poor Wi-Fi electronics in there, the communication is going to be slow, the frame rate, the movement is going to be robotic, and you're going to have a bad experience. So, you know, what are you going to get for 20 bucks? You know, 20 bucks means the manufacturer is into that light bulb camera around $8 or $9. You can't even buy an LED 5-year rated light bulb at Home Depot for 20 bucks. Well, you might get them for 15. But my point is, think about what you're getting for that. They're advertising these things as a surveillance system with camera, with Wi-Fi, with night vision, with lights, with app access, and the manufacturer put a total of $10 into it. Let's see what they do.
For a price of $20, the least expensive camera that we'll be testing is this unbranded 2 megapixel 360 degree camera that uses the iCC phone app. The 360 degree camera is slightly larger than a standard A19 light bulb, but should fit in most light.
Checking to see if
designed for use in an overhead light, the 360 camera has 3 cool white side-firing LEDs and a fisheye lens, allowing it to see the area directly underneath and around the camera. The field of view will vary based on the height of the camera, but at a mounting height of 9 feet, the 360 camera gives an overhead view of a 16-foot diameter. Next, for $26, is this 2 megapixel Tuya Smart Life compatible motorized pan and tilt camera sold by more than a dozen different white label brands. But this one happens to be called Owluck. The Owluck has 4 front-facing white LEDs, 4 infrared LEDs, and is slightly wider but significantly longer than a standard A19 bulb. The Owluck has motorized pan and tilt through the app, but it has a very narrow horizontal field of view that I measured at just 50 degrees. After that, for $30, is this 3 megapixel pan and tilt camera from XVIM. The form factor of the XVIM is extremely similar to the Owluck, except...
Gotta talk about this. Why do they look the same? They're different manufacturers. Why do they look the same? And here's the thing about the security industry a lot of people don't know. Camera manufacturers don't manufacture their housings. There are actually companies throughout the world that manufacture only the housing. And so they'll get a suite of different housings, and then they'll go to the camera manufacturers, knock on the door and say, hey, look at these housings we've made. Would you like to buy some? And that's why you'll see 2 different brands that look like it's the same camera. And a lot of people make the mistake of going, oh, that's the same camera, but that one's $400 more. That one's $25 less. And the truth of the matter is, no. The electronics inside is completely different. The 2 manufacturers just happen to buy the housing from the same source. That's it.
The XVIM has motorized pan and tilt, but has a much larger horizontal field of view, which I measured at 82 degrees horizontal. Then for $32 is this slightly larger 4 megapixel pan and tilt camera from LaView that uses the LaView app. The LaView has an entire ring of cool white LEDs and, as I said, is slightly larger than the Owlook and the XVIM and may be reaching the limit of what could fit in a standard light fixture. The LaView has motorized pan and tilt and has similar field of view to the XVIM, around 82 degrees horizontal. Next, for $50 is another smaller form factor option, a dual lens 2 megapixel pan and tilt camera from i2 that uses the IPC360 Home app. In addition to dual lenses, the i2 has 8 front-facing white LEDs and 4 infrared.
Okay, that camera has infrared LEDs, and that's infrared light. This is why the installation at the beginning of this video will not work. Because if you'll notice, he screwed it up inside the housing that had glass around it. And what's going to happen, the infrared light is going to be broadcast out of the front of that camera. It's going to go exactly 1.5 inches, hit that glass, and reflect right back into the camera. And all you're going to see is a black and white haze all the time. Now during the day it's going to work because the infrared light isn't bouncing off the glass. So you'll be able to see just fine. But the minute the sun goes down and those infrared lights turn on, you're not going to see anything. And even if you were to get the camera angle just right so the infrared light didn't reflect back in, it's still going to be a problem because as the glass gets dirty, there's going to be particles on the front of the glass and the infrared light's going to bounce off of that. So there is like 100% chance you're not going to have no night vision performance with the installation the way it is here.
Even on its widest setting, the i2 has a narrow horizontal field of view of approximately 50 degrees, and the zoom lens is 4x magnification, which is approximately 30 degrees horizontal field of view. Also for $50 is this much larger 4 megapixel pan and tilt camera from Eversecu that uses the Tuya Smart Life app. Aside from the E27 light bulb base, the Eversecu doesn't resemble a light bulb and is likely going to be the wrong shape and size to fit in most light fixtures, and you're probably going to need to use an extender like this one to make it fit.
Hate it. You know, it solves the problem of the camera being too big to fit up into the light receptacle, but the problem is it's going to put 100% of the weight of that camera, and if you articulate it so that it's at an angle, it's going to put torque on the fitting that screws into the light socket. Those light sockets aren't designed to carry weight, especially outdoor, and it's going to cause a problem. It's a potential service problem, but you got to admit, fitting solves the problem.
The Eversecu has 4 larger front-facing white LEDs and 4 infrared LEDs for night vision. Like the last 4 cameras, the Eversecu has motorized pan and tilt, and the horizontal field of view is roughly 60 degrees. After that, also for $50, is this extremely similar camera from Simonolec. Just like the Eversecu, the Simonolec is 4 megapixel, uses the Tuya app, and has 4 white and 4 infrared LEDs. It has motorized pan and tilt and a 60-degree horizontal field of view. In fact, the only difference that I can see between the Eversecu and the Simonolec is the color of the actual camera portion, which is black on the Simonolec and white on the Eversecu. For $65 is this unique form factor 1 megapixel light bulb camera from Zomoto. The Zomoto is right at the limit of what might fit in your existing light fixtures. The Zomoto has a down-firing LED array with 8 red, 5 green, 5 blue, and 6 white LEDs.
I kind of like this camera, not a lot, but I like the design idea because it's got it so that the fitting is vertical, so it'll fit up in the light socket like it needs to, but it's got the camera coming out at 90 degrees, and it's got the lights coming out 180 degrees from the socket. So the light's not going to mess with the camera, so it's kind of interesting. I don't know how well it's going to work, but it's a different design compared to the other ones.
Unlike the previous cameras, the Zomoto only has pan and not pan and tilt, and the horizontal field of view is significantly larger on the Zomoto at around 100 degrees. The Zomoto camera uses the Zomoto app. For $99 is another unique form factor camera from Zeus. The Zeus is a 2 megapixel bullet camera that's joined to a 900 lumen floodlight LED array and an E27 base. The Zeus listing makes a big deal about having a US patent and being assembled in the US, but at its core it is pretty clearly just a cheap Chinese IP camera, and it uses the very generic and poorly translated cam.
I don't know.
The Zeus has no pan or tilt, but you can adjust the roll of the camera portion to help with the orientation after screwing it into the light socket. The horizontal field of view on the Zeus is approximately 80 degrees. And last, the most expensive camera that I tested was this $150 2 megapixel floodlight from Sengled. The Singled uses a single warm white Cobb LED light source and also has a PIR motion sensor and 2 infrared night vision LEDs.
I don't know.
The Singled floodlight uses the Singled Snap app, which for some reason is completely separate from the other Singled apps that you might be using, like Home, Pulse, Boost, and Bluetooth. Like the Zeus, the Singled doesn't have pan or tilt controls, but the roll can be manually adjusted to help level the camera after installation. The Singled has the widest field of view of all the cameras at approximately 120 degrees horizontal. Arguably the most important aspect of a security camera is image quality. So to test that, I hung each of the cameras from the same location.
You'll notice that they're not inside the glass.
And I held up a sign with small and medium point font at 10, 25, and 50 feet, and I repeated the test both during the day and at night. During the day, the image quality from the Eversec, i2, and Cinemalike was significantly better than the other cameras, with the 360 camera understandably finishing last since it's not really designed for this type of application. And the zoomed-in quality of the Singled and Zomoto was definitely hindered by their large field of view. At night, the results were mostly the same, except for the Zeus performed significantly better and it managed to take first place using infrared night vision, despite also having one of the brightest floodlights. The Cinemalike and Eversec finished second and third, and the 360 and Singled were last. There was no footage from the Zomoto because even after multiple attempts, I couldn't get it to recognize motion at night, and instead, this is the only clip that I got from it, probably due to my phone flashing infrared onto my face. Speaking of motion detection, reliable notifications and recordings are one of the things that's going to make or break your security camera experience. Too many false notifications and you're going to stop paying attention to them, but every miss represents a potential security event that you have no record of. One of the best solutions is to use 24/7 recording with flagged motion events, and all these cameras except for the Zomoto support 24/7 recording, while the 360 bulb records 24/7 but does not flag motion events on the playback screen. As for the accuracy of motion detection, I always recommend buying a camera with on-device AI person detection, since that will significantly reduce false notifications.
Okay, that's important. What he's saying is the new AI lets you detect the human form, which is a lot better, because the old motion detection would look for a group of pixels that moved across the screen, and then that would be your alarm. Well, the problem with that is a tree blowing in the wind. You could even, a cloud going over the sun and having the shadow of a tree on the ground move as the cloud goes over, that'll trigger it. And so, yeah, he's right. You need to use advanced AI with human detection, 99.7% accurate.
Caused by shadows and blowing leaves. And of these cameras, only the XVIM, LaView, Cinemalike, and Eversec have free on-device person detection, while the i2, Zomoto, and Singled require a cloud subscription to enable that feature. The 360, Owluck, and Zeus do not offer person detection at all. Another important aspect of motion detection and notifications is how quickly the notification arrives on your phone. So during testing, I set my phone to LTE mode and I walked through the same route for each camera. And on this map, I have marked the location that I received the notification from each camera. You can see that the Cinemalike and Eversec gave the fastest notifications, followed.
Look at the work this guy puts in for you and for me. I love this guy. I mean, he seriously presents things very well, and he puts the footwork in. This guy deserves to have people following him. You should subscribe to him. I'm gonna. Oh, subscribe to me too.
By the i2, 360, and XVIM, and I've also noted whether the notification was for generic motion or for person detection. The Zeus and Owluck notifications were relatively slow, but they did arrive while I was still in the testing area, while the Singled notification didn't arrive until almost 5 minutes after I finished testing, which was still better than the Zomoto and the LaView that didn't send any notifications at all for the entire test. And while the LaView events were recorded in the app, the Zomoto didn't have any record of the testing at all, and I had to repeat the testing 4 times before it actually recorded me. App experience is another one of those things that's going to separate these cheap, relatively generic cameras from more polished options like Eufy, Ring, and Reolink. And rating their ease of use out of 10, the only one that I would give a passing score to is the Tuya app. The process of finding an event, saving a recording, and downloading it to my phone was still ridiculously unintuitive and cumbersome, but at least it worked every time, and it's something that I could easily repeat if needed. The worst app experiences by far were the Zomoto and Singled apps that barely worked at all and constantly crashed and threw error messages.
Okay, he's touching on something here. He's talking about the app. Those apps have to be constantly maintained because the platforms on iPhones and on Androids and on computers are constantly changing and there's security updates. So what happens is if you don't have a company that's supporting their product year after year, you're going to have a product that works great for 3, 6, 9 months, but as soon as some update goes up, that you're not even going to reference the update that went on your phone to why your camera stopped working, because you're not going to notice the two at the same time. And then you go to call these consumer grade companies, and guess what? There isn't a phone number. And at most they'll say, oh, go to YouTube and watch these videos. They don't. That's the problem with these products, is they don't provide support. And unless their product is extremely successful, they don't keep updating their apps, which means eventually, even though the camera might be working great for you, it's going to fall off your network and it's going to stop working. So you need to consider this when you're buying. But then again, we're only talking anywhere from 20 to 90 bucks for a camera, which is, you get a couple of years out of that, you're doing really well. The other thing to keep in mind too is all these cameras are plastic, so there's that.
A function of these cameras that I wasn't planning on testing but definitely needs to be mentioned is their Wi-Fi signal strength. I think most people are going to want to use these cameras outside, meaning the camera is going to need a strong enough Wi-Fi signal from your router in order to function properly. And I was surprised at just how bad the signal was from some of these cameras. I have a UniFi Wi-Fi access point mounted roughly 30 feet from these cameras and nothing but wood stud walls in between, and yet the Zomodo, Zeus, and LaView cameras had too weak of a signal to connect and stream their camera feeds.
The camera was $20 to $80. What do you expect's going to be in them? Of course they're not going to work well. Remember, you always give something up for convenience. If you go low price, you're giving something up. I mean, how much can they put into these products and still make a buck and provide support and, oh yeah, free shipping and warranty and everything else? They're really low-end products. I'm amazed they work, and I'm impressed how well they work.
I ended up needing to temporarily install an additional access point about 10 feet from my testing location in order to reliably use the Zomodo, Zeus, and LaView, but the other 7 cameras had no issues. So after all my testing, as someone who has tested over 100 security cameras over the past 5 years, I have to say that none of these cameras are very good at all. However, if you are looking for pure convenience and you want to install a camera into an existing outdoor fixture, the only 2 cameras that I think could possibly be worth buying are the Eversecu and the Simonolec, which use the passably well-designed Tuya app, have on-device person detection, good notification speed, and decent video quality for around $50. If you're looking to install a light bulb camera indoors just to keep an eye on room occupancy or to get a general idea of what someone's doing in the room, then the 360 bulb camera might work for you. And the good news is that it's ridiculously cheap at around $20. The 3 most expensive options, the Zomodo, Zeus, and Singled, were unacceptably bad, and I wouldn't recommend them at any price. And the truth is that in most cases, there are much better options than these light bulb cameras.
I could not agree more with him on that point. Subscribe to us. We've got some lot better ideas for you, cost-effective wise and home protection wise. But the light bulb cameras, you got a good feel for them now. Convenience. That's really what they're all about. And they cost less than a dinner out with your wife.
For $60, you could buy a Wisecam V3 PTZ and a light bulb USB adapter. These adapters let you continue to use your existing light socket, but also allow you to plug in power to your Wisecam or any other USB-powered camera.
Okay, now I'm not taking this advice. Pay attention to the install and pay attention to the cables that you're dealing with. Do you really want that on the front of your house?
That means for about $10 more than the Eversecu and the Simonolec, you can end up with a much less odd-looking light source, a better performing camera, and a much more polished app experience. As always, there are no sponsored reviews on this channel, and I bought all the products that I tested in this video with my own money. I've got links down in the description for every camera in this video, and if you appreciate the time, effort, and money that it takes me to make a video like this, I'd appreciate if you could use those links, since as an Amazon affiliate, I do earn a small commission on the sale at no cost to you. I'd also like to thank my awesome patrons over at Patreon for their continued support of my channel, and if you're interested in supporting my channel, please check out the links down in the description. If you enjoyed this video, go ahead and hit that thumbs up button and consider subscribing, and as always, thanks for watching The Hookup.
You got to hand it to this guy. I know he's doing this for an income, but you got to hand it to him. He does a lot of footwork. He invests his own money. He presents information very well. He's very fair and balanced with the information he provides. And he talks a lot faster than me, so you get a lot more information in. Anyway, thanks for watching this video. Subscribe to him. If you like me, subscribe to me. Thank you.